Welcome back to Swing State Update. My name is Tyler Boyer, and it's been a minute since we've been here with you. We are on a little bit of a break through summer, just heading into our People's Convention. We're back. We're back and better than ever before. It was a wonderful, not just that, we had our big event here in Arizona where we hosted President Trump at Turning Point Action. It's thousands and thousands of people, and then at the People's Convention, we had over 8,000 people crammed into the convention center in downtown Detroit. No one's ever done anything like that in Detroit in the conservative movement before, and it's a new era. Let's put it that way. So let's lead in here first with a recap. So for those that are watching at home, you can see the recap, our sizzle from our People's Convention, where we hosted dozens and dozens of trainings. We had obviously President Trump speak and dozens of speakers and just recruiting hundreds of people to become ballot chasers in the state of Michigan and then in other places across the Midwest and across the country. So yeah, let's roll the sizzle.
We are here in Detroit, Michigan, where very few Republicans are ever brave enough to go.
This is our country.
We are American and we are proud of it. This is a war between those of us who love the United States of America and our founding ideals, and those who hate this country and what we stand for.
You just have to be able to have the strength and the resolve to push back against the swamp.
It is our time. We will not stand for cowards in the White House anymore. We will not stand for politicians that won't stand up and fight for our values.
This is the most important election of our lives.
We grow more powerful and larger every single day.
We, the people, are back in charge, and we are going to send a triumphant message. The more they throw at Donald Trump, the more they throw at us, the more we support him.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump!
Hello, Turning Point, and hello, Michigan. It's great to be back in a state I love with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Thank you very much. Our enemies want to take away my freedom because, quite simply, I will never let them take away your freedom, and I won't. One movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Michigan. God bless you.
And there you have it, the People's Convention in Detroit, Michigan. Thousands of people, regular Americans invited to the convention center at Huntington Place. That's just right there on the river. It's the only place in America you can look south and see Canada. And so it was a lot of fun. Great people who showed up, great activists. And the best part was the training. We spent all of our time talking about how to become a ballot chaser, why you become a ballot chaser, providing the data on all of that. We had our partner groups in, so everyone from Tea Party Patriots Action to Scott Pressler and his group, Early Vote Action, others that were there with us as well, talking about building coalitions. And Turning Point Action was there with our coalitions, talking about how to build coalitions appropriately and then equip them with what we need to go out and win. So it's really special. And then we were out while I was out, and this is just kind of a personal story. I had kind of a post go viral here. So when the president's team was there, they'd come and we had done a thing with Blexit, and Blexit is obviously the organization started by Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum. We have an incredible leader at Blexit named Pierre Wilson, who's an absolute rock star, has dedicated his life. But there's so many of our staff at Blexit who have been working so hard and so diligently. And they were meeting with the president, and they had sent a bunch of hats, MAGA hats, Make America Great Again hats. Some were red, some were pink, some were the camo, some were blue, and then we had some black ones as well. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen the black MAGA hat. And so I took one and I wore it, and I put it on because it matched my outfit for the day. I was wearing black and white. And so I put on the black MAGA hat, and I took it a few because I was like, oh, this one's cool. And so is the white one. I like the white MAGA hat with gold, and then there's the black one. And so I was just wearing the black one because it matched. And I was out walking back to my hotel, and this dude with his friend walked up to me, and he's like, wait, I got to get one of those hats. I got to get one of those hats. And I was like, oh, this hat? Like the MAGA hat? And I was a little, concerned that he was going to do something with it. And his friend's like, yeah, me too. And you can see in this picture, we tweeted out, I gave him the hat. I was like, yeah, I'll give it to you if you don't mind me snapping a picture. And of course, we didn't get the MAGA part of it, but him and his friend took it, and I was like stunned. He's like, oh yeah. I was like, are you voting? And he's like, yeah, you bet I'm voting. And he's like, I'm voting for Trump. And it was wild. So I went inside, didn't have that hat. So I went back, grabbed another one of the black MAGA hats, put it on, and I was walking again, and I was walking through the hotel, and one of the hotel workers, who was also African American, was just getting off her shift, and it looked like she was working in the restaurant at the hotel, and she came up to me and she quietly said, hey, do you know where I can get one of those hats? And it was the MAGA hat again, and I was like, you can just have this one. So I took it off my head again and just gave it to her. And I was like, man, I wish I would have had like 50 of those MAGA hats just walking around downtown Detroit, because they appear to be very popular. So with that, I think things are going tremendously well for the president. Let's put it that way, in Detroit and Michigan. And the polls are showing it. And I think that we had some kind of impact, because if we look at the interactive polls, I think we have this Twitter post pulled up. It's showing Trump up 1 point right now in Michigan. This is a poll that was taken over the course of our People's Convention. And if you pull it up, it actually has all of the different key target states. So if we look at this, I think Trump's winning every single one of them, including tied in Minnesota. This is Emerson's poll, so this is not a right-leaning poll. This is very much a center-left poll. Has Trump up 3 points in Wisconsin, 2 points in Pennsylvania, 4 points in Arizona, 4 points in Georgia, 3 points in Nevada, tied in Minnesota, and then in Michigan has him up 1 point. So we'll take credit for that 1 point, I think. Won't we, guys? Sadie, will we take credit for that 1 point?
Oh, yeah. Detroit was awesome. I love Detroit.
Isn't it the coolest city?
It was so cool. It was so green and beautiful there. Everyone was so kind. I loved it. Everyone that I talked to also loved it. It's
green, beautiful, and the downtown area is incredible. And not a lot of people know this, but the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I don't know if you guys know who that is. His name's Dan Gilbert. He's a Detroit native, and he owns the Cavaliers. I'm sure he would love to own the Pistons, but he has his company, which is Rocket Mortgage, is based out of Detroit, and the Rocket companies and everything else. And so he it used to be called Quicken Loans, but it's Rocket Mortgage now. You see it everywhere. He's putting like literally billions of dollars into downtown Detroit, and the people there absolutely love him. They love Dan Gilbert. He's a Republican. He's a good dude, but he has completely turned down that whole city. And it was a delight to be downtown. I thought the place was awesome, and we were able to harness enough hotels to be able to support close to 10,000 people showing up for this, so it was cool.
Oh,
cool.
it was amazing. We went and walked. Did you walk the river walk?
The river walk's beautiful,
Beautiful.
And the convention center is beautiful too, because you look out and it's the river, and there's these really tall buildings that are there. Like the actual hotel that we stayed in is the headquarters of General Motors, and we can't approve of everything that GM does, but the building itself was really tall. It's like 75 stories tall, and you would go on this. If you go to the river, you take this elevator, it would shoot you all the way to the 75th floor where they have a restaurant. And it's like, it felt like, I was saying like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like we were just going to shoot out the roof. But it was like kind of a freaky, it's like a small elevator. But you go up and it's this beautiful view of over the river in Canada. And that's Windsor, that's right across the river. And it's just like the weather there I thought was really nice. They were all saying it was really hot, but for us Arizonans, it was really nice. And it was just such a great place to bring so many patriots together and so many freedom-loving Michiganders together from all over the state, and including Detroit. Had a ton of people there from Detroit. We had about 2/3 of our entire community that showed up was from the Detroit metropolitan area, which is really unnerving for the Democrats as we look at these polls that show that Trump has a real shot at winning the state again. So on that topic, while we're sticking around Michigan, we don't want to just talk about all the warm fuzzies with People's Convention. The Democrats are going to work. They just passed Senate Bills 603 and 604, which prevents the Board of Canvassers from investigating election fraud at all. Let's go ahead and pull up clip 3 real quick of Michigan State Senator Jim Runestad. I think that's how you say his name, where he's talking about 603 and 604, which changes the 70-year-old law and prevents the canvassers from investigating. Let's pull that up.
Very clear that in a case of a recount, if somebody suspects fraud, they are able to bring that to the Board of Canvassers. The Board of Canvassers are permitted to investigate fraud. Contrary to everything I've been hearing on the other side of the aisle, in posts, the media not covering it, it is clear as a bell that if there's allegations of fraud in a recount, that the Board of Canvassers have currently the ability to investigate fraud. They also have currently the ability to subpoena. They have subpoena power. It's very clear in the law currently, despite what the other side says and despite the fact that the media will not print any of this for the public to be aware of. This bill, 603, removes that ability from the Board of Canvassers. It is a big change. What they put in instead is, well, if you suspect fraud, turn it over to the hyper-partisan Attorney General. Oh, I'm sure if it's a Republican making that claim, it's going to get a thorough investigation. Or turn it over to the hyper-partisan Democrat prosecutors within the big cities where the majority of the votes are. Oh, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of investigation of fraud from those individuals. It is being done after 70 years of having this system. All of a sudden, we have to strip the power from these Board of Canvassers.
Wild times. Michigan has become so. Let's go on the history lesson again here for everyone that's sitting at home. 2016, there was no fathomable way that Donald Trump was going to beat Hillary Clinton nationwide, much less in Michigan, which was purported to be the secondary home for groups like Democracy Alliance. Of course, there's a massive union presence in Michigan, and Hillary Clinton was so detestable that they lost because they were caught with their pants around their ankles without preparing to win. And what we saw from that was that the left has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the state of Michigan for get out the vote operations. But in addition to get out the vote operations, since 2016, Michigan and the Democrat Party in Michigan has been the tip of the spear for for totally changing all of the election laws to try to manipulate the election code every way they possibly can. And so if you want to look at all the different things that the Democrats want to do to manipulate your election, look no further than every law that's been passed and every law that's been changed since 2016 in the state of Michigan. And that will tell you exactly what's coming in every other swing state and everything else. So everything that the left is doing right now to persecute Republicans, to manhandle elections, to make it impossible to investigate or to do really even basic auditing over elections, to every way, every machine, every policy and procedure that they're putting into place. They are doing it in Michigan, and they will do it in your state next. And if they can get it passed in Michigan, folks, they can get it passed in any other state that has a legislative body that is controlled by the Democrats. And all they have to do is catch you off guard. And every state has fallen suspect to this, has become susceptible to electing a Democrat as governor. And if you have a legislative body that's controlled by the Democrats, at least one of the two in your state, and a bicameral legislature, and you have a governor, they can change your laws dramatically. And we've seen that in Democrat-controlled Michigan. We've seen that in other places where they've attempted to do this, whether it's Ohio in years past, whether it's Pennsylvania, which they're working really hard and diligently to make it impossible for Republicans to win in Pennsylvania ever again. Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, these are the places that if they lock down the numbers, it's going to be very hard. And then guess what? It's coming to Texas in 2028. So we've got to do everything that we possibly can to stop them now, thwart them. A big backwards push for them in Michigan, pushing them back, is going to do wonders for the rest of the country. But all these other swing states, key target states, we have to be absolutely on our toes and watching for this. And so all of the pan bangers that we've got in Arizona and Nevada, Wisconsin, we've got to be doing this. And then, of course, Georgia as well. Georgia just really far-fetched for them. They've got a while to go because they're not going to have Democrats controlling the legislature or the governor's mansion for some time. Let's go ahead and just talk real quick about RFK and what's going on with the CNN debate. We have the debate coming up between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. In fact, here in Arizona, we've got a massive event that we're holding in Chandler, and I don't know if we have that graphic pulled up here. I'll send it over to you guys so you can throw it up. But we're going to be doing a massive debate watch party. I hope you'll join us. We'll be at the Forum Lounge that's in Chandler. It starts at 5:30. We'll have a little meet and greet beforehand with special guest Carrie Lake. Oh, we've got it pulled up here. We've got the wonderful Carrie Lake that will be joining us. The great Carrie Lake, as we say here. That'll be June 27th, 6 p.m. for the presidential debate. Everybody will be watching as Donald Trump inevitably trounces Joe Biden. So let's go ahead and go straight to this RFK conversation. Do we have the clip on RFK? Let's pull it up.
Yeah, that's it, Nicole, and it's a blow to RFK Jr.'s campaign. This is something that he was pledging to his supporters, promising that he was going to be on that debate stage alongside former President Trump and President Biden. Now, the only two people on that stage will be Biden and Trump, which will be essentially a rerun of the 2020 debates. And RFK Jr., we heard from his campaign last hour. Now we're hearing from the candidate himself saying this, quote, "My exclusion by Presidents Biden and Trump from the debate is undemocratic, un-American, and cowardly," he says. Americans want an independent leader who will break apart the two-party duopoly. They want a president who will heal the divide, restore the middle class, unwind the war machine, and end the chronic disease epidemic. Now, the independent candidate has been promising to be on that stage, as we said, and he's working to get on the ballot across the country, in states across the country. CNN said that working to get on the ballot and being on the ballot are two different things, and insists that RFK Jr. did not meet the qualifications to get on the stage, including reaching the polling criteria needed. Now,
Yeah, so they're trying to keep RFK off the debate stage, which is a good sign for us because that means that all the polling and the internal polling showing that RFK is still polling more Democrats than Republicans from most of these states. But this opens up the conversation, which is, should RFK be allowed to debate? Absolutely. Should RFK be up? I mean, the fact that CNN, of all places, is trying to keep RFK off the debate stage, I totally agree. It's undemocratic, un-American, cowardly. I think it's un-Republican. We have a guy who's trying to get on in as many of these states as he possibly can as an independent. He's clearly pulling from Joe Biden's base. He's clearly pulling from the youth base. And in the Northeast, I think he's pulling from the Democrat base significantly in places like Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Maine, that run a real risk for the Democrats to lose some of these states. And so you've got RFK, and just as a reminder for everyone at home, how it works is that the major parties already have ballot access in all 50 states. So the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, because they're the major parties, they have ballot access. Most states, it's fairly difficult to become an independent candidate. You have to meet all these qualifications. In most cases, get signatures and a substantial amount of signatures that you have to pay for in order to make the ballot for the presidential ballot. And then you have to identify all your electors because you're really nominating electors who are tied to that candidate. And so for independents, it's a lot more tricky because all the Republican Party, all the Democrat Party, even the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, already is all set up in most of these states. And so they already have, they're already way ahead because they've nominated candidates at their national convention. And then they have already set up electors that they've selected to represent the state. If that, and that's who you're typically voting for. If you actually look at your general ballot, you're voting for electors for that specific party. So an independent like RFK has a much tougher climb because not only do they have to get all the signatures to get on all the ballots for all the different states, and you have to do it for all 50 if you want to be on the ballot for all 50, but then you got to go find the electors for those states that are committed to you, that you're vetting on your own and making sure that they're committed to you and that they like you and all of that. So that's a ton of work that they have to do. So the argument that Kennedy is making now at this point is saying, hey, Trump and Biden both haven't really actually been formally nominated at their convention yet. They've been, they are, they're the presumptive nominee, but I've actually done more work because I've actually gone out and found all these people to be my electors. I've already got the signatures to make the ballot, so I know 100% I'm on the ballot. I mean, something could go wrong, at the Democrat convention, right? Like, they could decide to not nominate Joe Biden. They could decide not to nominate Trump. I don't think that's going to happen at ours, but I could see it happening at the Democrat convention because Joe Biden, I think, is going to do so poorly in this upcoming debate that they're going to maybe reconsider making him their nominee. But RFK is making a really good point, saying, I've got more ballot access right now than Joe Biden does. I should be on the debate stage for CNN. And their argument is, well, because Joe Biden's the presumptive nominee and Donald Trump's the presumptive nominee, they've got access to over 270 electoral votes, and that's why they make the stage and you don't, which is really lame. So that's where we stand currently with the wonderful happenings going on. I'm happy to welcome in our good friend, and you may remember her from the incredible work that she does here at Turning Point Action with our Turning Point Action Scorecard, Flannery Sloan. Welcome to Swing State Update, Flannery.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm excited to be here.
Let's scoot on in this way here a little bit so we get you on camera. Perfect. So I wanted to have Flannery on because we have some really cool developments that are happening on our scorecard side.
Totally.
And I want to remind everybody at home because every time I talk about this, people get so excited about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, why don't you guys talk about this more? I'm like, we talk about it all the time. We post about it all the time.
For sure.
But it's just a matter of people knowing where to go and what to look at. Turning Point Action has what we call the most encompassing scorecard in the conservative movement. So I explain it this way: is there's a lot of different scorecards that are out there. For example, the NRA has a scorecard. That's great. Club for Growth has a scorecard. That's great. CPAC has a scorecard. That's great. It's the American Conservative Union scorecard. A couple other media organizations have scorecards, but typically they're very niche. So they only cover one vertical of things. Like the NRA obviously cares about what?
2A,
Second Amendment, guns, right? And your right to bear arms. And other groups are more economic driven or other things or culturally driven. And what we did was we came in and we built a scorecard that covers, we think, everything. The second piece is that our scorecard, other scorecards typically won't give you the information about how people vote until after the sessions are over. And sometimes it's a long time. Sometimes it's months or even the next year after they vote. And then they evaluate people based off of basically their work from the previous session. Which could be months or even years ago.
Yeah, it's normally a year after they'll launch it. So they'll launch the 2023 session scorecard in 2024.
Which is crazy. So one of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that we had a scorecard that was in real time, that we were updating, within days of votes happening, and not months and years, right? So it's not even weeks; it's days typically with us on our side. And just as a recap, kind of fill us in real quick, Flannery. How many sessions exist in Congress a year? How do we evaluate? What's kind of our timetable? If we can pull up, we'll pull it up. Take us through the map and how we identify the states and then individuals, and then let's talk about the key issues that we cover.
Totally. So the Turning Point Action Scorecard, like Tyler said, is live. So that means within 48 hours of a bill being voted on, we're able to get it scored and on our scorecard. So in real time, you're seeing what your representative is doing. You're able to hold them accountable in real time. And when you look at the map, all the colors on the map, they represent the average score that the reps in that state, either at the federal level or state level, depending on which scorecard you're looking at, how well they're doing. So our deeper red states we refer to as free states, and then our deeper blue states are tyrannical states.
So we have free state, losing freedom, erratic, becoming tyrannical, and tyrannical states. And Arizona right now is one of the only erratic states left. It's really interesting. Georgia right now is in the becoming tyrannical state. And this is, again, based largely off of federal, but for a couple of our states, we have federal and our state scorecard, which is kind of the newest development, which is really exciting.
You'll see some of our swing states that on the Swing State Update you guys talk about all the time. They teeter that edge between being a purple state and being a different color. Wisconsin, Georgia, they're right on the line of being a purple state. They are totally in play based even solely on just the numbers and the way that the representatives in that state are voting. They're totally in play when it comes to being a swing state.
Right, and most of these have a really terrible federal score.
Yes.
So, let's go in and let's just look, because we were in the state of Wisconsin. We'll wrap up talking about our ballot chasing in Wisconsin. If we take a look here, we can click on Wisconsin. We click on See Votes here, and then it pulls up your state, your federal representatives, and then your state representatives. So if we click on U.S. senators, it ranks from top to bottom your federal representatives. So you got Ron Johnson, who's a 94.38, which is right on the cusp of what we call Patriot, which is at 95. So he's like one of the best that we have in the country, and he's right there. And then you have Tammy Baldwin, who's up for re-election, of course, this year, against Eric Hovde, who is a 3.13. Yeah. So she's terrible. And her live session score, so if we click on her, and we click on it, so it says there, so it has a little flag next to her name, says she's a tyrant. Her live session score that's underneath that is 7.69. So she has a 7.69. That means that her previous sessions were really, really bad.
Yeah, so a session score is based on the session that the Congress is in. So a Congress is We vote our electors in for the House for 2 years, so we're right in the 118th Congress. Each Congress has 2 sessions, the first and second, and their calendar year. So what you're looking at in terms of the session score is the 2024 session score. So that means any bill that has been voted on during the year 2024.
So let's go down and look at those bills. Let's actually go back so we can look at Ron Johnson, so we can just look at something that's more pleasant than Tammy Baldwin. So let's go back into Wisconsin. We'll look at C votes here, and we look at Ron Johnson. So let's go up to U.S. Senators, and then let's click on Ron Johnson. So if we scroll down, it says, so we can see all the votes that Ron Johnson's made. So this table, tell us about this table and what it shows us.
Yeah, so every single profile page on every member, both senators on the state level and federal level, they have this table at the bottom, which identifies the bills that we're scoring. It will tell you our stance at Turning Point Action, the stance of the rep, the issue it falls under, the title, the year, just some basic information. You can click on any one of these bills, and it will take you to a special bills page that's going to walk you through the bill itself.
So if you click on the bill, so for those of us that are listening at home, you can actually go right into our scorecard, look at the bill. It'll tell you whether or not we support or oppose it. It'll tell you how many voted yes and how many voted against it. And then it tells you how many Republicans support it, how many Democrats support it, and vice versa. And so if we go back, so this is the Right to IVF Act. We opposed it. It was mostly supported by Democrats. It was mostly opposed by, so the only Republicans that voted for it was Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins.
Can you even call them Republicans?
Yeah, I mean, Lisa Murkowski is, saying that she's an independent now. So she's like not even going to run as a Republican ever again. So really it was only one Republican that opposed it, or that voted for it, and all the Republicans opposed it. But if you go back, if we go back in and look at this, the cool part about this table is that I like the most is that you can select issues and see how that these are all the different categories. So if you click on select the issues at the top there in the drop down, it separates out American culture, big tech, free speech, border security, election integrity, medical freedom, school choice, Second Amendment, taxes and spending. So if we go to like taxes and spending, for example, we can see all the bills that are relevant to taxes and spending and how that person voted on that. That's such a cool feature that allows, again, if I'm like, man, how good is Ron Johnson on cultural issues? I can just come here and click on it and see how he's doing. If I'm like, how's he on the Second Amendment? Bam, I can come see that. And I can do that for any representative in the House or the Senate, which is incredible. Because it's like literally this is a tool that's at the fingertips of every activist then to know exactly how their federal representative's doing.
I like to say that it doesn't matter what your why for politics is. If Second Amendment is your passion or if medical freedom, whatever it is, our scorecard is tracking it. Our scorecard is following it. So this is the scorecard. It's the most comprehensive one in the movement. It doesn't matter what you want to see your reps voting on, what you care about the most. It's on there. You're going to find the information. We have the bills. That's what I think makes this tool so unique compared to what else is in the movement.
Yeah, and it's really beautiful. Let's go down in Wisconsin. Let's look at the state representatives and state senators. So what's really cool, I like about this so much, so we've launched, this is kind of the newest update, we've launched this for Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia.
Yep.
So the team is tracking the votes at the state level too, in addition to the federal level. And again, you can just come in here. It works exactly the same. You can click on anyone that's in here and determine how that person's voted. Now, one thing to remember is typically leadership that's in the House and Senate, they don't get tracked the same way. Why is that?
Most of the leaders, their whips, your Senate leader, Senate majority, they have voting privileges, which means that they don't have to vote on every bill. They're able to pick and choose the ones they actually have to take a stance on. So they don't get scored on everyone, but everyone who's a leader who has that will have an asterisk on their scorecard saying partial score, so you know that they're kind of on a different playing field than the rest of the people.
Yeah, let's go in and let's look at our good friend Janelle and under state representatives. Let's go down. Janelle Branchin, who's incredible. She's a Patriot. So her score is 97.14. She is a Patriot. So her score is a Patriot score.
Which is a pretty high score.
It's a very high score. So I was going down. So I was just thinking, okay, what's the deal? Why does Janelle not have a perfect score? And I came down here and I noticed that she has at least 2 instances I can see here of not voting.
Mm-hmm.
So how does Turning Point Action rate representatives who, for whatever reason, don't vote on something?
Totally. So we think we elect these people to serve and represent us when it comes to the legislation. And we believe it's their job to vote. It's their job to be there and represent us. So if they vote not voting, they abstain, they vote present, we give them half a point. We don't totally take away a point because they didn't totally oppose the bill, but they weren't there doing their job. So they only get half a point.
And sometimes they're absent, right? So sometimes you're absent, sometimes you're not voting. And you know, of course, people are going to be sick. So sometimes you'll have your representative not there because they're sick, or there's a wedding, or they had a baby, like in Anna Paulina's case.
Yep.
But we're like, sorry, you're going to lose a little bit of points for that.
Right.
And we had the same thing with Andy Biggs. So Andy Biggs, great friend of the program, obviously the Turning Point Action.
Huge Patriot,
Freedom Caucus chair. 2 years ago or 2 cycles ago. Lost a little bit of points because he just was missing for a couple of votes. I think he had a daughter that got married, or his son got married, one of the two. And so you have those situations, but it doesn't impact, as long as you're good, it's not going to impact you. It's not going to mess up your whole score, right? Because we're evaluating lots of bills.
Right. And that's why
that's a big difference with the other scorecards, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we have hundreds and hundreds of bills we're scoring, so that half a point isn't really going to take off much. But we also make it clear that if they're falling into that Patriot level, which we refer to as the top 5% of Congress, that is a great score. Even if they don't have 100%, majority of people don't. Barely
anyone that's
does.
Close to 95 or above is like you're
stellar.
You're doing a good job. We have a high bar. It's a high bar, but we want a high bar, because we want that. So it's really cool. And you look at this, and Janelle is voted perfectly across the board on absolutely everything else. And so she's great, she's wonderful, but this is a great tool for people to come to, especially if you're in the swing states of Arizona, Wisconsin, or Georgia, because you can see it at the federal level and the state level. But for everyone else, the whole country, we've got the federal scorecard live right now in real time. So,
and it's not just Republicans. I want to make that clear. We also score the Democrats. It is truly everyone. So you don't have to come here, even if you have a Democrat rep and you're like, oh, I don't want to see, like, they're not going to be on there. They will be. We're tracking them. They might have really low scores, but we track everyone in Congress. Anyone who's an elected official in our Congress, they're on there. They're live and they're being scored.
Well, I am just so proud of the team for this upkeep. And it's such a beautiful thing. And the one thing I like most about it is if you haven't gone to tpaction.com/score or tpaction.com/scorecard, you need to play around with it. And again, this is for every state. It's not just the swing states. It's every state that we have it in. And you're expanding our state level to more states coming up here for this next year, right?
We have, the plan is within the next month, we're going to be launching at the state level, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Nevada.
Wonderful.
And then by September, October, we're going to be adding Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, and Iowa.
So all the key target states.
All of our swing states.
And you can get more. So you can actually go in to tpaction.com/scorecard today. Go in, look at the profiles, and the cool part is, too, we actually have a little bit of a game that's on there as well. It's finding your own score. So if you go in and look at your representatives, you'll see right above their score, it says click here to find your score. You can go in, and there is a game that you can play where you can put in your first and last name, your email, your phone, so then it will never forget what your score was, get started, and you can compare yourself to other representatives. So you might look at this and go, wow, why is that person's score not higher? And then your score will be a little bit lower too.
Yep.
Oh, okay, well, that gives, and I think that's a really important thing, right?
Totally.
Because it kind of tells you like who's your type of representative. Not everybody scores a perfect score on our score card. Even we have some Turning Point staff who, have been in the doghouse because they got the sub 100 scores. But you're going to have some of those things happen.
And every one of the questions on this score relates to a bill that the members in Congress had to vote on. So we're not giving you willy-nilly questions. We're giving you the same questions that our representatives did. So it truly acts as if you were a member of Congress and we were scoring you. How would you do? What would your score be?
Which I think is really cool because it's again, this gives you an idea. It gives you an indicator of where you should be, right? Versus the members of Congress and how tough it is to be in the legislative body and have to make decisions every day and have to show up to vote, and not everything's always black and white, but for us, we give you some kind of indicator of kind of where we stand and a little bit of the reason why. And obviously, of course, Turning Point's always happy to give you the reasons why. Again, just wanted to remind everyone, tpaction.com/score. You can see all 50 states live today. If you go back to the map, you can see how your state's doing. We don't have a lot of purple states right now, folks. It's a lot of blue and a lot of red. And unfortunately, Georgia's blue right now. We got Virginia's blue, Pennsylvania's blue, Michigan's blue, Minnesota's blue, Nevada's blue. Alaska and Arizona are purple, and the rest are either light red or red states that are of importance. But go in, take a look, get to know your representatives. We rank them by how well they're doing. Mm-hmm. My other favorite part of this is that we have something change on their profile as they get worse. Tell us a little bit about that real quick.
So if they drop one of those ranking levels, the worse score they get, the worse headshot we give them. So if they have a really low score, I am scouring the internet to find the worst photo of these people. So you can also get a visual of how well they're doing.
Wow. So you can, based off of what they show up for, how they vote, you can see in real time how their score is impacted. Mm-hmm. And right now, I think this has had some impact. We've had some calls come from some offices that have said, hey, why is my score so low? It's like, well, you're missing votes, or you didn't vote a certain way on some of these things, and people are watching. We have a lot of congressional offices now paying really close attention. So use this. This is in your pocket. You can pull it up right on your phone. And in addition to pulling up on your phone, you can screenshot these things and send them to your friends. So the nice part is the bars and banners, they scroll with it. So it makes perfect sense when you go through and you look at, for example, I'm looking at Congressman Eli Crane's score. He's 100%.
One of our only.
One of our very few, perfect patriots is what we call them. That's on there. It tells you more information, so you can look more information about Eli Crane, see who his chief of staff is, see his committee assignments, what his profession is, what branch of the military he served in. So he was a SEAL, a Navy SEAL. That was pretty cool. And then you actually can see a CSV of recent PAC contributions.
Yeah, so that's something new we launched. Most representatives, you're going to be able to see their financial disclosures. So if you want to know what assets they own, what stocks they own, all of that, we have that information. We also just launched their PAC contributions, so you can know which PACs that they're taking money from, all the way down to, I think, $250.
Interesting.
So you can see that, and you can kind of cross-reference and compare and see what they're doing. But that's for pretty much every member on the federal level. We also post all of our math and methodology live on the scorecard. So if you're ever curious on how your member got their score, all the equations are on there. You can test it yourself, check my math. It is all on there. And that's also really unique to our scorecard. A lot of these other scorecards give most Republicans 100%, but what we've seen based on the math, it doesn't really translate to that. So we're being able to post everything, transparency.
I love that.
Also, really quick, you can access the scorecard on the TPAction app too really easily, which is great for when you're ballot chasing in the neighborhood, look something up on the fly. You can do that on the app really quick.
If you download the Turning Point Action application that's on iPhone and on Google Android, right under our what we call our activism tiles, you can select scorecard and go to it. So download today the Turning Point Action application, and you'll have everything right in the palm of your hand. We have tens of thousands of people in the last few weeks download the application from all of our great work that Sadie and the team are doing of promoting
huge.
and getting it out. You can immediately go start knocking doors, talking to people in your neighborhood, and in addition to that, of course, looking at things on our website, including the scorecard. So we appreciate that. Well, cool. We're gonna get wrapped up here for the day. We just want to remind everyone, download the Turning Point Action application. Again, get involved. TPAction.com/chase. If you want to become a ballot chaser, help us in your free time, or get a job with us right away. We have hundreds of jobs posted in Arizona, Wisconsin. Take vacation in October for Arizona, Wisconsin, but get a job now in Arizona, Wisconsin at tpaction.com/careers. And if you can and want to join us, you can go to tpaction.com/chase to volunteer and get involved. We will have so many events happening, really starting in July and August, that will go all the way through October. I don't think we're going to sleep. I think it's going to be...
Definitely not.
I'm spending every single day out chasing ballots. I personally am committing to 1,000 people getting to the polls.
Okay.
We have hundreds of other people who are committing to hundreds, if not more than that, showing up to the polls. So sign up today, tpaction.com/chase, tpaction.com/careers. We need you, and thank you again, Flannery, for joining and talking a little bit about the scorecard. We're excited about all the developments. So for those that have been long awaiting the break for Swing State Update, I'm Tyler Boyer. We will see you soon, actually this next Monday, as we're back online, and we'll be going live on Swing State Update. Talk to you soon.